Jai Shri Radhe Krishna. If you are experiencing sorrow or facing challenges in your life, or if you find yourself at a crossroads, unsure of which path to take, then today's video is especially for you. There are moments in life when we feel stuck, unable to make the right decisions at the right time. However, the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita offer solutions to every problem in human life. By listening to the wisdom of the Bhagavad Gita, you will find clarity and peace. It is believed that reading or listening to the Gita can cleanse the soul of past karma in this very lifetime. The sacred teachings were imparted by Lord Shri Krishna himself to Arjuna, forming what we now know as the Bhagavad Gita. Though this scripture is ancient, its wisdom remains timeless, offering practical solutions to modern-day challenges. The Gita provides a way of life based on faith and sacrifice, two essential virtues for achieving anything in life. Without faith, success remains elusive, and without sacrifice, true accomplishment is impossible. In today's video, we will share profound lessons from the Bhagavad Gita in a simple and relatable manner. We encourage you to listen carefully and share these teachings with your loved ones. Lesson 1. Control your anger. You may have heard the saying, anger leads to confusion, confusion disturbs the mind, and a restless mind destroys logic. When logic is lost, a person falls. These words were spoken by Lord Shri Krishna himself. He explains that anger is like a poison. It does not kill a person instantly, but gradually turns them into something toxic. You might wonder, how can anger harm a person? When someone is angry, they often lose control, speaking hurtful words that act like poison to relationships. Many people have suffered because of uncontrolled anger, damaging even their closest relationships. Now, the question arises, how can we control anger? Let us understand through a short story. In ancient times, there was a woman known for her short temper. She would become furious over small matters, unable to distinguish between right and wrong in the heat of the moment. Her anger troubled her family and even the entire village. However, once her anger subsided, she would deeply regret her actions. Despite her desire to change, she was unable to control her temper. One day, a saint visited the village and the woman approached him for advice. She expressed her frustration, saying, "I truly want to control my anger, but I fail every time. Please give me a solution that will help me remain calm forever." The saint listened patiently and handed her a small bottle, saying, "This contains a special medicine. Whenever you feel angry, take a small sip and hold it in your mouth until your anger fades. Once the bottle is empty, return to me." Following the saint's instructions, the woman began taking the medicine whenever she felt anger rising. Within a week, she noticed a significant change. Her anger had drastically reduced. Delighted, she returned to the saint and thanked him, calling the medicine miraculous. The saint smiled and revealed the truth. There was no special medicine in the bottle, only plain water. The purpose was to keep you silent in moments of anger. By holding the water in your mouth, you couldn't speak hurtful words, preventing conflicts from escalating. This simple practice saved you from worsening situations. This story teaches us a valuable lesson. The best way to control anger is to remain silent for a moment and allow emotions to settle. Lesson 2. The power of perspective. Lord Shri Krishna emphasizes that our perspective shapes our reality. People who constantly think negatively attract difficulties into their lives, while those with a positive outlook create opportunities. Everyone perceives situations differently, but how we choose to view them determines our future. Consider this story. In an old village, there was a man who struggled with alcohol addiction. His wife had passed away, leaving him to raise 2 sons. Unfortunately, his drinking habits created a troubled household. As the sons grew up, they took completely different paths in life. The elder son became an alcoholic, following in his father's footsteps, while the younger son became a well-respected and successful member of society. People in the village were puzzled. How could 2 brothers from the same background turn out so differently? One day, someone asked the elder son, "Why do you drink all day and fight with people? What led you to this lifestyle?" The man replied, "My father is responsible for what I am today." He was an alcoholic, and our home was full of conflict. I simply followed his example. Then, the villagers approached the younger brother and asked, "Your elder brother is an alcoholic, but you have become a respected and successful person. How did that happen?" The younger brother replied, "My father is the reason for my success. I saw the suffering his addiction caused, and I decided early in life that I would not follow the same path. I worked hard and dedicated myself to creating a better future." Both brothers had the same upbringing, yet their perspectives shaped their destinies in opposite ways. One used his father's actions as an excuse, while the other used them as motivation for self-improvement. This story teaches us an important lesson. It is not circumstances that define us, but how we choose to respond to them. A positive perspective can transform challenges into opportunities for growth. Conclusion. The Bhagavad Gita offers timeless wisdom to navigate life's struggles with clarity and peace. By learning to control anger and adopting a positive perspective, we can lead a more fulfilling and meaningful life. We hope you find these teachings valuable. If you did, please share this video with your friends and family so they too can benefit from the divine wisdom of the Bhagavad Gita. Friends, we should approach situations with a positive mindset. When we think positively, we create positive outcomes for ourselves and others. On the other hand, those who dwell on negativity often find their lives filled with challenges. However, if we learn from others' mistakes and move forward with optimism, success is inevitable. The third teaching of the Bhagavad Gita, controlling the mind. In this teaching by Lord Shri Krishna, the focus is on mastering the mind. The mind is naturally restless, but it is also within our control. It is a unique power that, when utilized properly, can help us overcome any obstacle. A well-controlled mind can create harmony and success, but if left unchecked, it can become a destructive force. Our thoughts shape our reality, and that is why mastering the mind is essential for a fulfilling life. The Bhagavad Gita states that the nature of the mind is to be restless. Many believe that by constantly thinking about different problems, they can find solutions and avoid difficulties. However, excessive worry does not lead to solutions. Rather, it wastes valuable time and energy. Consider this analogy. Can you ask a crow to stop cawing, or a frog to resist jumping into water? Just as these creatures follow their nature, our minds instinctively react to events, both good and bad. Worrying and overthinking do not solve problems. Rather, they magnify them. Many of us spend our lives consumed by unnecessary anxieties. However, we must remember that most of our troubles exist only in our minds. To overcome them, we must remain calm and focus on practical solutions. Let me illustrate this with a story. A wealthy merchant had everything except peace of mind. One day he heard about a sage who guided people toward inner peace. The merchant visited the sage and said, "Maharaj, I have immense wealth, yet my mind is never at rest." The sage replied, "If you seek peace, follow my instructions without question." The next day, the sage asked the merchant to sit under the scorching sun while he himself sat comfortably in the shade. The merchant endured the heat but remained silent. The following day, the sage ate lavish meals while offering the merchant nothing to eat or drink. Again, the merchant said nothing. However, on the third day, he became frustrated and prepared to leave. At that moment, the sage asked, "Why are you leaving?" The merchant responded, "I came here with great expectations, but instead of peace, I have only faced discomfort and disappointment." The sage smiled and said, "Through these experiences, I have already taught you the secret of inner peace. On the first day, I sat in the shade while you remained in the sun, teaching you that my shadow cannot bring you comfort. On the second day, I ate while you remained hungry, showing you that my sustenance cannot nourish you. Similarly, you cannot find peace through external means. It must come from within. To attain peace, you must engage in self-discipline and focus on actions that bring tranquility to your mind." Hearing this, the merchant understood the lesson, expressed his gratitude, and returned home with a newfound sense of purpose. Friends, to calm the mind, we must avoid anger and negativity. As long as the mind is filled with turmoil, love and peace cannot enter. The fourth teaching of the Bhagavad Gita, self-realization. Lord Shri Krishna teaches that self-awareness is the foundation of success. Before striving for external achievements, one must first understand oneself. Recognizing our strengths, weaknesses, aspirations, and limitations is the key to overcoming challenges and achieving our goals. Most people spend their lives analyzing others rather than introspecting. They devote their energy to understanding those around them while neglecting their own self-growth. However, true success comes from deep self-reflection and self-improvement. A person who understands themselves can harness their full potential and accomplish extraordinary feats. Wake up, recognize your true self, and harness your inner strength. Only then can you create history. The fifth teaching of the Bhagavad Gita, self-development. Human life is precious, yet many fail to give it the respect it deserves. While people focus on external beauty, they often neglect the divinity within. As a result, they remain entangled in material pleasures and sorrows, disregarding their own inner growth. This negligence not only affects individuals, but also impacts their families, society, and the world as a whole. Today, the greatest need is self-development. We must reflect on our thoughts, words, and actions. True progress begins when we recognize that self-growth is just as important, if not more, than external achievements. We should nurture the virtues within ourselves and focus on positivity. After all, we are all children of the Almighty, and His divine qualities reside within us. By unlocking our inner potential, we not only elevate ourselves, but also contribute to the betterment of society and humanity. Let today be the first step in your journey of self-improvement. Remember, the biggest obstacle to success is the belief that something is impossible. Remove doubt, embrace possibility, and move forward with confidence. The sixth teaching of the Bhagavad Gita, perform your duty without worrying about the results. Lord Shri Krishna teaches that we should focus on our actions and not be attached to their outcomes. While there is a connection between effort and results, the final outcome is never fully within our control. Therefore, worrying about the result is futile and only leads to unnecessary stress. Our duty is to act with sincerity, dedication, and perseverance. When we perform our responsibilities with enthusiasm and determination, success naturally follows. However, excessive attachment to results can create anxiety, which may hinder our performance. Shri Krishna reminds us, focus on your duty with unwavering faith. Do your best and let the results unfold as they are meant to. This is the true path to a fulfilling and successful life. Let me explain this through a story. There was a king who deeply cared for his subjects. He regularly visited them, listened to their problems, and tried his best to resolve them. His devotion to duty was widely praised. One day, while touring his kingdom, the button of his kurta broke. The king immediately called his minister and ordered him to find a skilled tailor from the village to stitch the button. The minister set out in search of a tailor and coincidentally found one working in his small shop. The minister quickly brought him before the king. The king asked, "Can you sew the button on my kurta?" The tailor replied, "Of course, Your Majesty. It is a simple task." He took out a needle and thread from his bag and stitched the button. The king was pleased and asked, "How much should I pay you?" The tailor humbly said, "Your Majesty, I cannot accept money for such a small task." The king insisted, "No, I must pay you something." Initially, the tailor thought of asking for just 2 rupees, considering the simplicity of the work. However, he hesitated, fearing that the king might wonder how much he must be charging the villagers for his services. After contemplating, the tailor said, "Your Majesty, I will accept whatever you wish to give." Hearing this, the king decided to reward him generously, granting him ownership of 2 villages. The king explained, "I am giving you such a great reward so that your status in society is upheld." The tailor was astonished. He had only thought of asking for 2 rupees, but instead, he became the owner of 2 villages. Friends, we often think within the limits of our capacity, but God blesses us according to His divine will. We may ask for something small, but sometimes He grants us something far greater. That is why Shri Krishna teaches in the Bhagavad Gita, do your work without worrying about the results. This is the essence of this story. The 7th teaching of the Bhagavad Gita, always remember your goals. In the Bhagavad Gita, Shri Krishna advises that before setting a goal, ask yourself 3 important questions. Why do I want to achieve this goal? What will be the outcome? Will I be able to succeed in it? If the answers to these questions give you confidence, only then should you proceed toward your goal. Never disclose your strategy to others. Keep it a secret and keep working diligently in that direction. If obstacles arise, do not be afraid or abandon your goal. Face challenges with patience and persist with a positive mindset. Remember, just because something happened to you in the past does not mean the future will be the same. You always have the power to shape your destiny. Some people achieve success quickly, while others struggle despite persistent efforts. The first step is to identify your true goal. Only then can you move in the right direction with dedication. Instead of choosing goals based on others' expectations, choose what truly aligns with your passion and abilities. Dreaming is good, but to turn dreams into reality, you must truly understand what you want. Set realistic goals, assess the energy and effort required to accomplish them, and move forward accordingly. Rather than setting overwhelming goals, break them into smaller, achievable steps. Let me illustrate this with another story. There was a donkey who wanted to achieve something great in life. He wished to be remembered even after his death. However, he worked under a master who had his own ambition, to become the biggest businessman in the region. To achieve this, the master overloaded the donkey with heavy goods to maximize his profits. The donkey feared failure and the consequences of disobedience, so he never tried to break free. He spent his entire life working toward his master's goal instead of his own. Years passed, and when the donkey grew old, his master abandoned him in the forest. As he lay on his deathbed, the donkey regretted his choices and thought, what if I had tried to pursue my own goal? Perhaps my life would have been different. If only I had shown courage, I might have been in a better place today. And with this regret, the donkey passed away. Even today, many people live like this donkey. Instead of working on their own goals, they devote all their time and energy to fulfilling someone else's dreams. They feel satisfied merely by completing others' work, without considering their own aspirations. Unless we recognize our own potential and start working toward our own goals, we will never truly live life on our terms. If you do not wish to end up like the donkey, think about your dreams and take action. Once you gather the courage to live for yourself and work toward your goals, success may not be guaranteed, but at least you will have no regrets. Believe in your abilities and strive to fulfill your purpose. The 8th teaching of the Bhagavad Gita, learn to live in the present. The Bhagavad Gita teaches that dwelling on the past or worrying about the future causes unnecessary suffering. It can disturb a person's mental peace and even affect their emotional well-being. While feelings of guilt and anxiety are natural human emotions, obsessing over them is harmful. It keeps the mind unsettled. Instead of getting stuck in past regrets or fearing an uncertain future, one should expand their perspective and focus on the present. We cannot change the past, and the future is merely an imagination. The only reality we have is the present moment. Rather than wasting time dwelling on what has already happened or fearing what lies ahead, we should use our present wisely to shape a better future. Your present actions determine your tomorrow. Learning to live in the moment is the key to both success and happiness. Today is the best day to start working toward your dreams. Our past offers valuable lessons, but it should not hold us back. Instead, we must learn from it and move forward with a positive mindset. The 9th teaching of the Bhagavad Gita, believe in yourself. Shri Krishna says, until you believe in yourself, no one else will believe in you. To achieve success, you must chase your dreams, work toward them with dedication, and remain committed to your goals. The harder you work, the sooner your dreams will come true. Self-belief is the foundation of success. If you do not have confidence in yourself, you will never be able to turn your dreams into reality. The moment you start believing in yourself, your life will begin to change. A person who has faith in themselves can overcome any obstacle. A perfect example of this can be found in the Ramayana. When Lord Rama's army reached the seashore while searching for Sita, they were faced with the challenge of crossing the vast ocean to reach Lanka. It seemed impossible. But Hanuman, driven by self-confidence, took a mighty leap and crossed the ocean in a single bound. This proves that self-belief can help us accomplish even the most difficult tasks. So, believe in yourself. Have faith in your abilities. Once you do, you will realize that nothing is impossible. Then Angad said, "I can cross the sea and reach Lanka, but I am unsure whether I will be able to return." His lack of confidence in his abilities made him hesitant. At that moment, Jambavan reminded Hanuman of his strength and potential. He asked, "Can you go to Lanka and find Sitaji?" Hanuman, with unwavering confidence, replied, "I will go now, defeat Ravana and his demons, and bring back Mother Sita." As Hanuman embarked on his journey, obstacles such as Surasa and Sinhika tried to hinder him. However, his confidence remained unshaken, and he successfully reached Lanka. There, he defeated many demons, found Sitaji in Ashokvatika, and returned triumphantly. Friends, whenever we strive to reach greater heights, doubts and fears naturally arise in our minds. However, to overcome these challenges, we must maintain strong self-belief. Moving toward our goals with enthusiasm strengthens our confidence. When we believe in our abilities, any goal becomes achievable. Conversely, if we lack self-confidence, we become vulnerable to failure. Have you ever wondered how climbers and athletes accomplish seemingly impossible feats? The answer is simple: self-confidence. The 10th teaching of the Bhagavad Gita, the influence of company. Lord Krishna teaches that the company we keep significantly shapes our thoughts, behaviors, and character. Our speech, dressing sense, habits, and overall personality are all influenced by those around us. Just as a melon changes color when placed near another melon, our company impacts us in ways we often fail to realize. Good company elevates us, while bad company leads to downfall. A great example of this is how iron turns into gold when touched by a philosopher's stone. Similarly, under the right influence, even an unrefined individual can transform into a noble person. Conversely, bad company can ruin even the best of lives. Let me illustrate this with a story. A guru was walking in a garden with his disciples, teaching them the importance of good company. However, they struggled to grasp the lesson. To help them understand, the guru pointed to a rose plant in full bloom and asked one of his disciples to bring some soil from under it. The disciple quickly fetched the soil and placed it in the guru's hands. The guru then asked, "Smell this soil?" The disciple obeyed and was surprised. "Guruji, this soil smells like roses," he exclaimed. The guru smiled and explained, "This fragrance is present because the soil has been in the company of roses. Over time, it has absorbed their scent. Similarly, when we surround ourselves with good people, their virtues begin to reflect in us. Just as soil retains the essence of the flowers around it, a person adopts the qualities of those they associate with. That is why we should always seek the company of good people who inspire us to grow into better individuals." The 11th teaching of the Bhagavad Gita, the danger of incomplete knowledge. Lord Krishna emphasizes that while both a knowledgeable and an ignorant person can be guided, even Lord Brahma himself cannot correct someone with half-baked knowledge. Incomplete knowledge is dangerous and often more harmful than ignorance itself. Here's a story to illustrate this point. In ancient times, a wealthy businessman was successfully expanding his trade to nearby villages. One day, a man approached him, expressing a desire to become his business partner. The businessman, needing assistance, agreed. The new partner was hardworking and quickly gained the businessman's trust. Soon, he was given access to the financial dealings. even the keys to the business's safes. One day, a close friend of the businessman visited and immediately recognized the new partner as a notorious fraudster. However, this friend, believing that speaking ill of others was a sin, chose to remain silent. Instead of warning the businessman, he only made vague remarks about the new partner's diligence and charm. Encouraged by these words, the businessman placed even greater trust in his partner. Eventually, the fraudster stole all the wealth and disappeared overnight. The next morning, the devastated businessman confronted his friend and asked, "If you knew the truth, why didn't you warn me?" His friend replied, "I have read in the scriptures that speaking ill of others is wrong. That is why I remained silent." Furious and heartbroken, the businessman said, "Brother, I have lost everything because of your incomplete knowledge. Such knowledge is useless and dangerous." Friends, this story teaches us that incomplete knowledge is often more harmful than ignorance. It is crucial to seek complete understanding before making decisions. The 12th teaching of the Bhagavad Gita: Identifying Friends and Enemies. The Bhagavad Gita teaches that to achieve success, we need friends who encourage us. However, if we want to be extraordinarily successful, we also need adversaries. Why? Because an enemy's criticism and opposition push us to work harder and prove ourselves. Until we understand the weaknesses of our rivals, it is often wise to keep them close. This allows us to anticipate their actions and be prepared for any challenges they present. Lord Krishna warns against making friends with people of poor character or those who associate with negativity. He also cautions that not everyone who behaves well in front of us is truly a friend. Just as poisonous snakes cling to the sandalwood tree despite its cooling properties, envious individuals may pretend to be allies while harboring ill intentions. A true friend supports you both in your presence and absence. However, those who praise you to your face but speak ill behind your back should never be trusted. These people are more dangerous than open enemies. Let me illustrate this with a story. Two friends, Rahul and Kashav, were walking together when they suddenly had an argument. In anger, Rahul slapped Kashav. However, instead of retaliating, Kashav quietly wrote on the sand, "Today, my friend hurt me." A few days later, while bathing in the river, Kashav slipped and began to drown. Rahul immediately rescued him. This time, instead of writing on the sand, Kashav carved on a stone, "Today, my best friend saved my life." Rahul, puzzled, asked, "Why did you write my mistake on sand and my good deed on stone?" Kashav smiled and replied, "When a friend hurts us, it is best to write it on sand so that it can be erased with time. But when a friend does something good, we should carve it on stone so it is never forgotten." Friends, where there is friendship, there is love. But along with love, disagreements and arguments are also inevitable. The key is to cherish the good moments and let go of the negative ones. If we take things too personally, friendships and relationships can suffer. A true friend understands that while mistakes happen, we should focus on their goodness rather than dwelling on their faults. The 13th precept of the Bhagavad Gita: Duty and Responsibility. Shri Krishna teaches that everyone must fulfill their duties according to their role in life. A student should focus on studies, a soldier must protect the nation, a king should serve his subjects, parents should nurture their children, and children should care for their aging parents. Similarly, a leader must govern with justice. If everyone fulfills their responsibilities diligently, society will remain in balance and harmony will prevail. The 14th precept of the Bhagavad Gita: Ego and Pride. Shri Krishna warns that ego and arrogance are the downfall of many. A person's ego and illusions prevent them from achieving true success, as their world revolves solely around themselves. My mother often tells me, no matter how high you rise in life, never let success inflate your ego. Arrogance leads to emptiness, for no one enjoys the company of an egotistical person. A truly successful person is like a fruit-laden mango tree. Its branches bend with humility as the fruits grow. The greater the achievements, the more humble one should be. Pride in one's hard work is natural, but arrogance is dangerous. Many believe they know everything, but the moment someone claims to have complete knowledge, they fall into the trap of ego. Success should not cloud one's wisdom. Those who remain open to learning continue to grow, while the arrogant stagnate. The 15th precept of the Bhagavad Gita, embracing change. Shri Krishna emphasizes that life is a constant flow of change, and one must never fear it. Change always brings new opportunities, and without it, progress is impossible. At times, change can be painful, but such pain is temporary and often leads to greater happiness in the future. A river never stagnates because it is always flowing, whereas still pond water begins to rot over time. Similarly, if we resist change, we become stagnant. The day we stop evolving, we begin to decline. The 16th precept of the Bhagavad Gita, laziness, cowardice, and fear. Shri Krishna identifies laziness, cowardice, and fear as the greatest enemies of success. A lazy person cannot achieve their goals, a coward cannot fight for their dreams, and a fearful person never takes the necessary steps towards success. If you wish to accomplish your dreams, you must overcome these obstacles. Fear holds you back from taking action, while laziness prevents you from completing tasks. The 17th precept of the Bhagavad Gita, the immortality of the soul. The Bhagavad Gita teaches that the human body is perishable, but the soul is eternal. The soul can neither be destroyed nor harmed by any weapon. Upon death, the body merges with the 5 elements, but the soul continues its journey, taking birth in a new body. A wise person does not grieve death, for they understand that only the physical form is lost, while the soul remains alive. Everything that takes birth in this world is bound to perish one day. This is an eternal truth. Yet people spend their entire lives chasing material possessions, often fighting with their loved ones for temporary gains. However, none of these material things will accompany them after death. True peace comes from accepting the transient nature of life. The 18th precept of the Bhagavad Gita, sin and virtue depend on intention. Shri Krishna explains that an action's morality depends on the intent behind it. The same act can be a sin for one person and a virtue for another. For example, one person may commit murder out of greed, while another may kill a criminal to save innocent lives. Though both have taken a life, their intentions differ. One is driven by selfish motives, while the other acts for justice. Thus, actions should not be judged merely by their nature, but by the purpose they serve. The 19th precept of the Bhagavad Gita, equality among gods. People are often divided by religion, sects, and beliefs, fighting in the name of faith. However, Shri Krishna teaches that all divine forms are equal, just as all rivers ultimately merge into the ocean. The Supreme Creator is one, and regardless of the name or form worshipped, all paths lead to the same divine truth. Therefore, one must rise above divisions and embrace unity in spirituality. The 20th precept of the Bhagavad Gita, the right time is now. Lord Krishna advises Arjuna that there is no perfect time to start anything. Every moment is the right moment. Those who wait for the right time often wait forever, missing opportunities and delaying their success. Instead of waiting, one must take action now. To illustrate this, consider the story of a man who attended a spiritual discourse. He heard a sage say, "Time is precious, and those who value it reap great rewards." Excited by this, he went around offering to sell his time for 200 rupees per day. People laughed at him, calling him foolish. Finally, he returned to the sage and said, "You said time is valuable, but no one is willing to pay for mine." The sage smiled and explained, "Time is valuable only when used wisely. It is not something you can sell, but something you must invest through hard work and purpose." The man understood the lesson and vowed to use his time wisely. Every moment of life is precious, but its true worth is realized only through meaningful actions. Instead of wasting time, One should dedicate it to learning, growth, and good deeds. Conclusion. If you found wisdom in this video, please like and share it. Comment Jai Shri Radhe Krishna below. If you are new to our True Life Spiritual Gyan channel, don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell to stay updated with our latest videos. Jai Shri Radhe Krishna.